Today, we're looking at two completely opposite weather realities in the United States of America. And also I want to dive into what could be the harshest winter in the last decade, or even longer. If you live on the West Coast, you need all the information about the floods. If you're on the East, enjoy the warmth, but remember that this calm will end very quickly. And regardless of where you live, what's coming this winter affects every American. So today is Saturday, November 15th, 2025. Let's look at the current weather picture for today. California and the West Coast. Floods and destruction. Our main concern is the relentless storm caused by an atmospheric river that continues to drench the West Coast. Although the worst for Central California may have already passed, the threat is shifting south. A powerful low-pressure system is slowly advancing, continuing to pull a large amount of moisture from the Pacific Ocean. We expect that in the areas around Los Angeles and Santa Barbara and Santa Maria, the total rainfall could exceed 4 inches. This is an extraordinary amount of rain for this area, something that hasn't been seen in a very, very long time. Forecasts indicate a significant threat of floods, which could be life-threatening, especially in areas where the ground has been scorched by recent wildfires. These zones are very vulnerable to landslides. In the Sierra Nevada mountains, snow continues to accumulate. In some places at the highest elevations, up to 2 feet of snow could fall, creating extremely dangerous travel conditions. If you're planning a trip to the mountains, avoid it or have tire chains and emergency kits ready. It could be very useful or even save your life. The heat anomaly in the eastern center. While California battles with water, most of the central and eastern states are enjoying unseasonably warm conditions. This is some unusual heat for this time of year. Today, the heat anomaly remains dominant. Although the epicenter of the intense heat was in the northern plains, this warm air mass is spreading eastward. We're seeing how most of the country, with the exception of the West Coast, will have above-average temperatures right up until Thanksgiving. There's a contrast here that could create very serious problems. I'm talking about the sharp temperature contrast that lies along the Rocky Mountains. It's creating the perfect conditions for an active storm pattern. Now let's move on to the forecast for the next few days. This storm pattern, this gradient between the heat and the cold, is leading to an increase in the activity of weather systems. For example, on Sunday, we're expecting a fast-moving cold front coming down from the Great Lakes. So, what's in the risk zone? In the risk zone at the moment are parts of Ohio, Kentucky, Western Virginia, Pennsylvania, and upstate New York, which are under a marginal risk. This marginal risk means some very severe weather that could catch you by surprise. But the most expected threat is damaging wind gusts, which can lead to falling branches and extensive property damage. You need to remember and account for that when you leave your car in an unprotected spot. Although the tornado risk is low in these areas, you still need to be vigilant, as these storms can intensify very quickly and pop up unexpectedly. Now let's look a bit further into the future. Deep systems in the long term, especially as we get closer to Thanksgiving. We're going to see the formation of powerful fall storms. In a classic scenario, systems moving in from the Pacific will cross the Rocky Mountains, rapidly intensifying with moisture from the Gulf of Mexico. This means the potential for major storm outbreaks in the south and significant snow events in the north. Early signals to also consider are the models pointing to the formation of very powerful systems around November 20th and at the end of the month. These could bring severe weather to the south and an early mini blizzard to the northern plains. The weather is going to become very volatile and active. We have to be ready for that. Now, let's move on to the main story I wanted to cover in this video, specifically the winter forecast for 2025 to 2026. This is the biggest story you need to know about, the upcoming winter. After years of mild winters, where we've been very lucky, it seems like it's payback time. Now, I'll explain what I mean. I'm talking about the sharp pattern shift this year, and that's La Niña. The mild winters were caused by the prevailing El Niño, but now El Niño is weakening rapidly, and it's being replaced by La Niña, which has now been officially announced by the NOAA. And as analysts are saying, This is what opens the Arctic gates. La Niña is a pattern where cold water in the Pacific Ocean forces the jet stream to slide to the south. This essentially opens the gates for Arctic air. We've also seen a historical precedent for a similar situation. The last such combination was in the winter of 2013 to 2014. And as many of you know and remember, that was one of the coldest winters in the modern history of the United States. That was the winter when cities in the Midwest spent weeks in deep freezing temperatures. So, how will this affect you? Well, it's going to be through severe cold and snow. This winter will likely be one of the most consistently cold in recent times, meaning we won't see sharp warm-ups followed by sudden cold snaps. Instead, it will be a prolonged pattern, holding cold temperatures for a very long time. The coldest regions, if you look at the map, include the Midwest, the Great Lakes, the Ohio Valley, and the Northeast. These regions will face multiple, prolonged waves of Arctic cold. The wind chill can drop to dangerous levels, creating a risk of frostbite in a matter of minutes. This is very dangerous, especially for children or the elderly. As for the snow threat, there's a much higher potential for intense snowfall in the central United States and especially around the Great Lakes. We're talking about the Chicago, Milwaukee, and Cleveland region. This won't be about one giant blizzard, but about the relentless accumulation of snow from smaller but frequent systems. There is also a risk of serious ice in the south. In the Central Plains and the northern parts of the south, there are frequent temperature fluctuations, and these fluctuations will likely increase the risk of dangerous freezing rain and black ice during transitional periods. Please, keep this in mind when you're planning your winter vacation. Now let's talk about preparation, which is a crucial part of this winter. Prolonged intense cold affects absolutely everything. First, there could be a potential energy crisis. That is, a sharp increase in demand for heating will lead to a serious strain on power grids and gas systems. This could also lead to potential rolling blackouts. And in the peak cold of January and February, it's a real possibility, especially in regions that have had problems with power outages before, like for example Texas. As for infrastructure, damage is expected due to these weather conditions. Specifically, deep ground frost will damage water mains and roads, leading to an increase in potholes and accidents. Please check your backup generator if you have one. Prepare emergency kits. Make sure your home is ready for a prolonged period of severe cold and high winds. This winter could become a real test for us, and the better prepared we are, the more safely we and our families will get through it. Thank you for being with us. Stay safe, and we will continue to provide you with the latest updates. We'll see you in the next forecast.